So we're going to have lots of fun. Good afternoon, everyone. And I see a lot of people are still joining in. Uh, we're going to have a very interactive session, and it's about developing love for writing. So, how many of us actually, by the end of the workshop, this is exactly what we are going to do? We'll understand the importance of writing, different styles of writing, tips that you can use during writing, the important role of mentors, because a lot of children these days are very reluctant writers. So we have to get them back to writing. So that's the whole purpose of this workshop, and make it more interesting for the children. So that's what we are going to talk about today. Look, there are a lot of children writing out here. The most relevant question is, why should you learn to write? Why do you think so? This is a question open to everybody, participants who are joining us in. Why should you learn to write? And what was the first time you remember writing something relevant? I remember when I was in grade 4, we used to make pen friends at the time. Cal, did you make pen friends?
Yes, actually, in my school in England, we actually had to group up with a class in France. And so, for a
Mhm.
very early age, we used to do weekly letters in those days and postcards
Right,
to our
right.
pen friends of a similar age, but they were in a
Mm,
different country.
right. So, do we have some people writing in the chat box?
I think
What
so.
happened?
Kavita said to express our feelings. There's
Right,
another one.
right.
Um, oh, there's too much. Basically, there are a lot of people saying expressing feelings with
Right,
friends and writing exams, somebody's put
correct.
as well. So there's quite a
Mm,
few varied ones.
right.
For
And
documentation, yeah,
someone is saying communication skills. So
yes.
it's extremely important skill
Mm.
to develop because
Also,
we have.
age-wise, somebody's put writing to grandparents, which is good if they're not in the same city as well. And somebody's
Mhm.
also put about pent-up emotions.
Absolutely. So that's exactly what we are going to talk about here because it's very important to organize your thoughts and then present it in a way that other people will understand it the way they would like to. And writing, we get the time to think. Spoken English or spoken language is different from communication through writing. We think and write, isn't it so? So,
That's right.
of course, we learn to write because it develops our communication skills. Critical thinking. So, when we are talking about critical thinking, we organize our thoughts, analyze information, make connections, right? What is the cause? What is the effect? So we link everything up at the time when we are talking about critical thinking. And that's very, very important in today's time, right? What will come, even when you are writing an email, I realize we actually, even in offices, we are thinking, what shall I write the first line? What should be the opening line? What should follow next? What should be so all that is critical thinking. So we can't negate it. And that's exactly what we are talking about these days through our 21st century skills, right? Creativity. Eh, Creativity, of course, we learn to imagine things. We learn to think through other people's eyes also. So here you can give interesting activities like imagine you wake up as an animal one day. Now your world has changed. So now you can be as creative as possible there, isn't it so? So that's what happens when it comes to writing. And I said, these are the 21st century skills which everybody is emphasizing on in today's time. So that's one part of it. Somebody said self expression. Absolutely. We learn to express ourselves. If you would have noticed, there would be people who are very shy in the classroom and maybe not vocal, but they are very good writers because that's how they learn to write. So, self expression, maybe through journaling, that's one way. A lot of parents are working, children don't, they're very alone at the time in the house. Journaling is a very good example where I know one of my friends who's as old as I am still journals every day. And then she says, and I thought it was a fantastic idea. Whatever I feel bad, I just pen it down. And she's like 50 plus now, and she's doing it and she's at it. So that's what happens when you write. Of course, language development, the vocabulary builds up, word choices, tone, everything is different when we write. And if you see, eventually it does lead to confidence building, because when the self-esteem goes up, then of course the confidence also comes in. So these are the reasons why we should encourage our children to write. Anything else you'd like to add? This would be like fun there. So now what we are going to do is we're going to do one step at a time. We start at picture descriptions. So if we look at grade 1 and grade 2, stories, that's the method forward, right? So most stories have a lot of illustrations there. So ask children before you do the story, what is on the title page? How does the story look like? What do you see there? What do you think the story is going to be about? Or just describe the story. And then they can later turn it into a writing activity. Just the pictures. So you can have a picture description story, so a standalone or a comic strip also going on, where the pictures keep changing and the children can make their own stories. So here you can give picture prompts like ask students to write a sentence or two about it. So what do you see? So we are going to be light children today. So what do you see here? You can write it down because this is a writing activity anyways.
And I think the good thing about picture prompts is you can do it according to your own level. So somebody of a
Absolutely.
higher level will do a lot more on the vocabulary side.
Absolutely. Right. I was doing some plot development for grade picture description for grade 7 early in the morning today. And then the idea was that the children will write a story, not just describe a picture. So they can weave a story around the picture descriptions. So when I'm talking about grade 1 and 2, I'm just talking about sentence constructions here. I
Yeah.
like, and then the children can complete. My favorite, and then the children can complete. Then, as I said, daily or weekly entries with simple sentences. It can
And I
start
think,
as early as grade 1.
yeah, I think,
So you,
Sonia, in answer to your first question, people are putting in a general one. Children are in the park as
right,
well. And that's what we were saying about levels. You know, we can go into specifics about describing the people or the kids, describing the
absolutely.
apparatus and things like that.
Absolutely. So one can teach grammar points here if you were talking about present continuous. So
Mm.
there's a girl swinging and there's a boy on riding a bicycle. There are children playing with sand. So
Yeah,
all that
Jagdeep
is
has put
also
they are
coming.
having fun on
Right.
that. And also, children are enjoying their time in the park. Royale has put that as well.
Ab- Absolutely. So these are the kind of picture prompts. And do you go to, and then it also leads to more discussions and more writing
Mm.
also comes through it, especially if the picture is something which is real and close to the children. So that's one thing one can do at all times. Going forward is a very good activity for grade 2 onwards, which is called sentence structure, a sentence stretch. Now, what we do here is very nice. We ask questions. Who? A crocodile? Doing what? A crocodile is brushing his teeth. When? A crocodile is brushing his teeth every day. Where? A crocodile is brushing his teeth every day in the jungle. Why? A crocodile is brushing his teeth every day in the jungle to show his sparkling teeth. So now, by default, without teaching grammar, children know how to write sentences. And then it's a very, if you see, it is repeating itself. So it's just getting down in the cognitive skills are getting developed because of that. Would you like to try this activity? But you'll have to follow the structure. I have some prompts here. My dadi, my abba, my sister, my brother, my so you can choose any of these four, one of them, and maybe try to write this and make it fun. So we'll just give them 2 minutes, participants. It'll be fun. Just try them out. Just type in the chat box if possible.
So it's
Who?
just choosing anyone and then prompting with the
Right.
WH questions. I think, Sonia, this is useful also for pronunciation. I remember doing a webinar with pronunciation in mind. The sentence stretch also works for things like sentence stress, because you can be
Right,
stressing
right,
different words as you go along with the
right.
information as well.
So,
So
so
very
you
useful.
so you are just typing the first one, who, my cousin, my sister. That's fine. Doing what? That's the next. So you have to write the entire thing quickly. Doing what? Who? You haven't written. Is preparing his long day's routine. But who? You missed out on the who here. See, sir, it can be like a fun activity in the classroom. My brother is my best friend. Okay, but then it doesn't follow the order here. So yeah, my brother having lunch. My brother is preparing for long day. Yeah, now you got it. Okay, when? So see, there is a lot of critical thinking also happening here. So it's not as simple as it looks here. I can see a lot of you typing in. My daughter is playing. Okay, where? My daughter is playing. When? My daughter is playing with her toys. Where? My daughter is playing with her toys in her room. Why? My daughter is playing in her room because she wants to have some fun. See, I just made it.
I think
Just
Wahida's
giving.
done a good one. If you look at Wahida's, my daddy's knitting a sweater in the veranda.
Yeah,
Um,
someone's done it. My
he's
brother.
knitting a sweater to keep our cat warm. Well done.
Right. So see, these are the kind of activities you can give, and you can extend it both ways. You can ask children to add describing words or adjectives, depending on the level of the children, how they do it. So you can say, okay, a crocodile. What kind of a crocodile? A big crocodile, a small crocodile, ferocious crocodile. So here, vocabulary, describing words, adjectives also come in. So this is how we do this kind of an activity in the classroom. A very important activity which can be done to uh, develop the love for writing is word associations. It's not just about vocabulary building, but it's also word associations. Also means lateral thinking, which is happening. For example, Cal, if I ask you, what does sun remind you of?
Warmth, it reminds me of. Summer,
Right,
it reminds me of.
right.
England, flowers, things like that.
Perfect. So this is how you can do it. For example, the moon. It reminds me of stars, night, sky, glow, warm. So these are the kind of things you can do with the children through a mind map. So you can write this down. What does sun remind you of? What does rain reminds you? And paper boats. For me, rain is always, you know, water, of course, but paper boats. Mountains. Yes. Night. So what are these things that remind you of? So you can do activities like these in the classroom and make a mind map out here. So it's a very powerful tool and you'll get many words. Now, how do you use these words into writing? You can do sentence constructions to begin with children. Okay, choose only two or three words or one word and make a sentence. It can go on. Okay, I used to do that activity with my children and in my workshops. Uh, Choose 5 words and weave a story around that. So these are very simple activities which can be done in the classroom through this. So it can start from storytelling, which goes on, leads to writing. And of course, you can also do illustrations and drawings along with that. So far, so good, I hope. Have you? It was a sunny day, yet it was raining. Someone's just typed in that in. Absolutely. Right. So these are the kind of things you can do in the classroom when it comes to word associations. Moving forward, if we look, then of course there are sentence starters. So you give a sentence starter and let the children complete. This is very nice because I have a lot of children in my classroom who are second generation learners. English is not their first language. And I say, okay, let's start. And I actually do that. And I say, okay, right. Yesterday, I woke up at 6 a.m. I went to school. So it can be as simple as that. So you don't have to kind of go more into it. Okay. Then if we go further, last night I saw, can you complete that? Somebody's done it, I guess. Yesterday I had a hectic day. See, another extremely important thing, because I was teaching in an alternate school, it's very important that you come to know your children through this also. The kind of, mind they have. Like, we know their lives. Like somebody just typed in, last night I attended a party. Last night I saw a big star in the sky. So it speaks a lot about children, right? So tomorrow I will, and then we are talking about the future here. So these are small sentence starters which can be given to children at any age, and they can make it as complex as possible. And then you can give also something like the snake in the pond, something, something. So, it can just go on from wherever to wherever. So I guess a lot of people are typing in, last night I celebrated my daughter's birthday. We come to know, congratulations, it was your daughter's birthday, it seems. Okay. So this is how you do sentence starters. Again, mentioning the grade so that you can keep it in mind. So you don't have to start writing, let's write a story. It doesn't work like that, right? So it has to be baby steps till we reach that stage. Then the next stage is expanding sentences and introducing paragraphs. So here, what we do is the focus moves from sentences to simple paragraphs and also introducing structure. Every paragraph has a beginning, middle, and end, like everything else. Use descriptive words. Then, of course, give story starters and ask students to complete it. Let's look one by one at each. Let's go to paragraph structure. So if you see any paragraph for the matter, has a topic sentence, okay, which introduces the paragraph. And then what we do is we explain it further with examples. And for example, my favorite season is summer because of the sunny days and fun activities. Now we start giving details or examples. In summer, I go to the beach and play in the sand. If you see, there is a connection between the first sentence and the second sentence. It's not standalone. That's how paragraphs are built. And then finally, that's why summer is my favorite season. It's full of fun and more. I'm just giving you a 3-line paragraph just to make you understand that this is how paragraph building can happen for small children also. It might be 3 lines, but then of course they can write more and give lots of supporting details there. If we look at this is adding details. What I was talking about was adjectives. So if you look at this, can you put these in the sentences? The dancer moves to the music. Can you add graceful and melodic somewhere? The participants, this is for you. How do you do this? Can you add graceful? No, you don't have to change anything. You just have to add graceful and melodic. Please don't change the form. So how do you do this? Right, the graceful dancer moves to the melodic music. See, as simple as that. And then you have to put your brains to even this, critically, which one will go where. Okay, how about this? The young boy sees the flowers. I'm going to give you some of them. This I'm doing for you. So the little girl sobbed into her little soft pillow. See? So these are the kind of combinations, the vocabulary goes up. Children, and they're not written in the same manner. They are jumbled up the way in the brackets, if you see. So
Just to
I'm
add to your
given.
point there, Sonia, I think Samina's done an interesting one for the first one where she put the dancer moves gracefully to the melodious
Mm,
music, because obviously you can link this to grammar as well as vocabulary by
absolutely.
changing the positioning. So
Absolutely.
it's just an add-on to inculcate that love of
Right.
writing. You can link it with
Absolutely.
something else.
Absolutely. And then we have something like this. The fish can't eat those plants. The golden fish cannot consume those tiny plants. So again, the images are getting built. Can you do these ones? And I think we can get variety. So you can choose to do one of them. You don't have to do all of them. So the first one is a house holds three couches. The writer writes a story. The player tries hard at the practice.
I
So
think
you
there's
can
one
choose
more as well.
one. You can choose one and add some adjectives to it. But
Sonia,
the
I think there's
moment
one
you do,
more after that as well. I think there's number
is it?
8.
Yes, I'm
I
so
think so.
sorry.
Yes.
The man works in his garden. Thank you for that.
Give them more choice.
Yeah. The only thing is, if we are talking about adjectives, then it has to be graceful dancer. But if we are talking about adverbs, then we can do gracefully. So that's also the trick. So teachers, very important thing in a classroom is what is the focus point. So if it is adverbs, go there. If it is adjectives, then stick to the thing, the objective. The writer writes a wonderful story. Nice. The determined, yeah, many coming. The eminent writer writes a fascinating story. The young man works in his beautiful garden. The old man working in his neighboring garden. I'm just reading as it comes. The old man works in the garden. The renowned writer writes a romantic story. A beautiful house holds three couches. Nice. So these are the kind of activities you can do in the classroom as well. All right, let's move forward. We talk about story starters. If you look at it, the first sentence actually talks about what kind of story is this going to be. You can, if you want to be really imaginative and have fun, you can say, okay, as the storm raged outside, make it a fun story. So the first sentence has to be a fun one at that. Okay. Similarly, if I go forward, you can give just as he was about to leave for school, make it a thriller. Every night for a week, she woke up to find, make it a mystery. When he opened the envelope, now you can again make it fun. So you can actually put in genres here and then start with just story starters. When I was doing a workshop, I just said, okay, don't write the whole story. Just write, give me one sentence there. And let's see, because we'll know the tone of the story, we'll know what genre you're going to work on. So here, the creative mind starts working. On her 16th birthday, she discovered that she could communicate with. Okay, choose one and make a funny story, or any story actually, as long as you mention. So this has to come real quick. If you see aliens. Okay, what about aliens? You'll have to write the which one? One alien, two alien. If you're trying to add to it, I do not know what you're trying to do here. Okay, so this is what we can do. As the clock struck midnight, the entire city. What happened to the entire city? I wouldn't know. So this is how we were. When he opened the envelope, he found his childhood photograph in it. Nice. Okay. So we have some of them writing. Just going to read a few. Every night for a week, she found cookie crumbs in her bed. Oh, that's so interesting. Start to a story, right? The entire city was dark, or the entire city sleeps. So these are the kind, see, already your minds have started working. That's exactly what we want, right? The children has to start getting involved in the idea of writing. So it's very important here. I also have it. Look, I have story starters here. So which one is what? You have to match these. As the storm raged outside, she found an old dusty box in the attic. Its lock covered in strange symbols that she had never seen before. Cal, you know what this is. Is it an
I'm
unexpected
hoping
encounter?
maybe it's a mysterious discovery.
Yeah,
I
I
would
think
hazard a
so
guess.
too. Yeah, that's what it is actually. And then if I read the second one, just as he was about to leave for school, a tiny glowing creature appeared on his windowsill, looking straight into his eyes with an urgent message. This
So
is
that
it
could be an unexpected encounter. I mean, it is an event rather
right?
than an
Yeah,
encounter.
yeah,
First one.
right. And then every night for a week, she woke up to find her bedroom rearranged, despite being certain she had locked the door before bed. So that's an unsettling event. So see, this is how you can actually get your children to start writing. These are like fun activities, but still, yeah, a lot of you are writing. So if you want to write, you can say 4B, 4C. It's easier. So you don't have to type in the whole thing. So when he opened the envelope, he found a letter addressed to him from a future version of himself, warning of a decision he had to make today. What's that?
I think there's many answers coming in there. 4B.
Okay. On her 16th birthday, she discovered that she could communicate with animals, starting with a cat who claimed to know the secrets of her family's past. Which one is
If only we
that?
all had that talent, I think. Hidden talent.
Yeah,
And a few
that's
people
a
have got that.
hidden
Sonia
talent.
Dipanshi has got that.
Right. And then if you go further, as the clock struck midnight, the entire city turned silent and still, and she realized she was the only person left awake in a world that had mysteriously frozen in time. So
Process
there's
of
a sad
elimination, I think, Sonia, isn't it? I think these are also
yeah,
useful for pair work, aren't they, in group work? Because you can
right.
group people according to their levels, and then
Absolutely.
let them go away with it. So you don't
Absolutely.
do writing on your own, you're doing it in a collaborative approach.
Absolutely. So collaborative writing is extremely important again when we are talking about children working together. And together, as in everybody working together, not one person in the group working together. So for another day, we can talk about that, how to do that.
Yes.
I hope my voice is clear because somebody is writing, voice not coming clear, ma'am.
No, it's loud and clear, Sonia. Kavita, I check your connection, I think, because ma'am is quite clear here.
Right. So now these are small nuggets which I gave you when it came to introducing writing in fun manner in the classroom. All right. Of course, then there's sentence scrambles and stuff like that. Unscramble the sentences, make, slips of paper and then they just put it together. Rather, right now on my refrigerator, if when you are looking, I have these sentence, the words there, and we can just go and, make sentences and then ask children to write furthermore. So these are the kind of activities you can do in your house. Let's discuss a little about the different kinds of writing. So the first one, anyways, which comes to mind is narrative writing, because everybody has a story to tell, right? And an experience to share. So that's exactly what narrative writing is. Again, when we are talking about writing, there's always this underlying thing, what skill is getting developed? And it might not be just a cognitive skill, it might be social emotional also. So when we are talking about narrative writing, it of course helps imagine and be more creative, but it also makes us more empathetic. So when you are developing three characters of a story, so you are that three, different characters in that story at the time, and you have to make the dialogues like the way those characters think, right? So there's a whole understanding of how characters work and of different perspectives. So that's what it does. Uh, Going forward, how do you do plot structures? If you look in the small classes, we have a very linear plot structure. This happened, then this happened, and then this happened. If a lot of if they're teachers from junior grades, they would have done Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Ricard. It goes like the caterpillar is very hungry, and over the days, it eats and then becomes fat and goes into a cocoon and sleeps and then turns into a butterfly one day. So it's a very linear plot structure. So a lot of stories. Do you know any which has a linear plot structure? Let's ask you the question. Teachers, you've been here, so yeah. Any story. It can be any language. We're not focusing specifically on one language. So where the events happen one after the other. Nothing coming as yet. Nothing coming. Thirsty crow, yes. Lion and mouse. So yeah, these are like linear plot structures. Absolutely. Aesop's fables, absolutely. So that's one. The other is non-linear plot structure, the way our movies sometimes work. And here, what happens, there's no chronological order. So you can go into flashbacks and flash forwards, and the timelines get juxtaposed and mixed up. For example, there's this book by C.S. Lewis. This is one of my favorite, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So if you notice, what happens here is that the timelines are surreal sometimes. Sometimes they come into the real world because the children go to the world of Narnia and things change drastically there. So this is exactly what happens there. Just 1 second, please. Okay. Going forward, if you see, we also have episodic plot structures. Rather, all our serials are something like that. But then we also had Akbar and Birbal stories. They are episodic. One story, once Vikram and Betal. So these are those stories which are episodic. Malgudi days. Cal, you are on mute.
Yes, okay. Not for you.
Right. Okay. And now these are fun stories because we thought we are going to do one of these. These are circular plot stories, structures. Something like the monkey and the crocodile. The monkey is sitting on the tree and he has an adventure where the crocodile wants its heart and then it goes back and sits on the tree again. So these are circular plot stories. And we're going to do one. It's almost like a rhyme, but it's called There's a Hole in the Bucket. Shall we, Kat?
Yes, why not? You know, I've got my
Okay.
singing voice on. I think we
I,
should
I
sing
guess
it.
that you had a problem with a bucket, it seems. So let's start.
Yes. There's a hole in my bucket, dear Sonia, dear Sonia. There's a hole in my bucket, dear Sonia, a hole.
Then mended, dear Carl, dear Carl, dear Cal. Then mended, dear Cal, dear Cal. Mend it.
With what shall I mend it, dear Sonia, dear Sonia? With what shall I mend it, dear Sonia? With what?
With straw, dear Cal, dear Cal, dear Cal. With straw, dear Cal, dear Cal. With straw.
The straw is too long, dear Sonia, dear Sonia. The straw is too long, dear Sonia, too long.
Then cut it, dear Cal, dear Cal, dear Cal. Then cut it, dear Cal, dear Cal. Cut it.
With what shall I cut it, dear Sonia, dear Sonia? With what shall I cut it, dear Sonia? With what?
With a knife, dear Cal, dear Cal, dear Cal. With a knife, dear Cal, dear Cal. A knife.
The knife is too dull, dear Sonia, dear Sonia. The knife is too dull, dear Sonia, too dull.
Then sharpen it, dear Cal, dear Cal, dear Cal. Then sharpen it, dear Cal, dear Cal. Sharpen it.
With what shall I sharpen it, dear Sonia, dear Sonia? With what shall I sharpen it, dear Sonia? With what?
With a stone, dear Cal, dear Cal, dear Cal. With stone, dear Cal, dear Cal. A stone.
The stone is too dry, dear Sonia, dear Sonia. The stone is too dry, dear Sonia, too dry.
Then wet it, dear Cal, dear Cal, dear Cal. Then wet it, dear Cal, dear Cal. Wet it.
With what shall I wet it, dear Sonia, dear Sonia? With what shall I wet it, dear Sonia? With what?
With water, dear Cal, dear Cal, dear Cal. With water, dear Cal, dear Cat. With water.
In what shall I fetch it, dear Sonia, dear Sonia? In what shall I fetch it, dear Sonia? In what?
In a bucket, dear Cal, dear Cal. In a bucket, dear Cal, dear Cal. In a bucket.
But there's a hole in my bucket, dear Sonia, dear Sonia. There's a hole in my bucket, dear Sonia, a hole. I hope
Correct.
everybody's still
Thank
logging
you.
on after that. Apologies, everybody, for that. Thought we just
So
liven it up.
see, these are the kind of things you can do in the class, and this is a circular plot because wherever
Mm.
we went, we came back there. So
Yeah, and
that's
it's
the kind
really
of
for kids, isn't it? That's the point. So not
absolute
imagining adults doing it, but would kids like to do that? I think they'd love doing that.
right. And also, did you notice something? It was Cal and Sonia. It wasn't any other
Mm.
name. So there was a lot of ownership here because I was talking to Cal and I'm sure he was talking to Sonia, not another character. So the children love that when you are in a classroom scenario. So if we look at narrative structures, any questions here, or shall we take the questions later, I suppose? Because we have a
I
lot
think
of
we've
ground to
dealt with
cover.
the questions. Most people are actually enjoying our singing, Sonia. Maybe
Right.
we'll slip in another one.
And that's like
Wow.
fantastic. Okay. So when it comes to narrative writing, as this is almost like a recap of whatever we've done. So simple sentences, please. Do a beginning, middle, and end structure. For example, once there was a cat, the cat was hungry, it found a fish. That's it. And this can be like in grade one. I mean, you read Dr. Seuss, this is exactly what it is, the cat in a hat. And it's fun because, you see, native speakers do not learn grammar and then learn the language, right? So if you want your children to learn this language, just make them do it like this. Just introduce the sentence structures. That's what I do to my children because I have lots of children who are second language learners. I mean, English is the second language for them. And then by grade 3 and 4, start adding details and emotions. If you look at the process of how children develop, it's very interesting. If you notice, I mean, this is from Steiner's, but 0 to 7 is physical growth, which happens. 7 to 14 years is emotional growth. So the stories you choose, everything you do is around emotions. You would have noticed, I noticed with my children also that here, when we are talking about writing, so you see it's actually progressively happening like that. So you add details and emotion by grade 3 and 4. They understand abstract by that time. Okay, so you can the same example. The little cat felt very hungry. It looked everywhere for food until it found a fish. So here we are adding detail to the sentence. Grade 5 and 6, we make it more dialogues and complex sentences. By this time, if you look at your English books, you will realize the children know complex sentences by grade 5 and 6. They know what is a compound sentence, what is a complex sentence. So it's just going hand in hand if you look at it. The hungry cat mewed. Where can I find food? It spotted a fish and quickly caught it. So these are the kind of things you can introduce in grade 5 and 6. Moving forward, now this is very interesting. As I said, 0 to 7 is physical development, 7 to 14 is emotions, 14 onwards till 21, 7 years is logic. So then comes the complexity of plot and character development. So everything just kind of falls in place with, so it's not something, it's very aligned to how children grow also. So, in the quiet alley, a starving cat prowled for food. With a swift leap, it caught a glistening fish. So, now we have vivid descriptions, plot development, and narrative flows. So, it just gets more and more interesting. So to give it a twist, these days, children, there's something like I work. I mean, we all are working somewhere. If you would have noticed that an Instagram post is very different from the way we put it on LinkedIn and how we put it on a reel, right? Facebook. So the language differs. So to just get the children back into the classroom, you can actually say, okay, this is a post you've written for Instagram. Can you write this for, say, a formal mail or on a LinkedIn? So the language differs here. So especially with this children above, say, grade 7, 8, you can do that kind of activity also. And they'll actually come up with fun stuff because Instagram is so fun. They write good, taglines and everything which comes quicker to them. One of the things which actually is a story told like a tweet. So you read Alice in Wonderland. Can you do it? Can you explain that story in 12 words? That's the trick. Okay. And you can do it. Actually, you can do it. Right. So if you've gone for a movie, write it in just 12 words or 15 words maximum. So here, the concept of short stories come in. I'm going to talk to you about some of the world's short stories. We have lots of ideas and they just keep flowing from here to there. And what happens is that mm, uh, children don't know, like if you give them a word limit of 100, they're not able to squeeze it in. So that also means you got to learn how to be concise and precise. All right. And this is a very good method of doing that. And these are real stories which I'm going to talk about. The first one is from Ernest Hemingway. It says, "For sale, baby shoes, never worn." This is supposed to be the shortest tragic story. The other is, "When he awoke, the dinosaur was still there." This is by a Mexican, Augusto Monterroso. Then there's one from Frederick Brown. "The last man on earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock on the door." Right? And then there's another, "I still make coffee for two." So you can ask children. So you give them world's shortest story, easily available. I mean, there's no these days. And you can ask them to write, or they can write their textbook stories in as short stories. Short stories mean just those many words. So this is what we can do with stories. Would you like to try one? Just to give you a break. Try writing a short story of whatever words.
And then maybe
We'll
the
wait.
rest of us can interpret them.
Right. Let's wait. Yeah, please try to make a short story. We are waiting. It shouldn't take too long, though. Or would it?
I don't know. It's the old habit of generating ideas.
Yeah, this is nice.
Dr.
The
Aaron
bird.
has put one in.
Yeah, Serena says the bird that never flew. Nice. The kitten chased the butterfly but slipped into mud. Sorry, soldier, shoes are sold in pair. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's like it ended where it began. Right.
I
The
made a healthy
butterfly,
recipe, alas, it got burnt.
layers and laurels. Lovely. Thank you so much. This is fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Moving forward. Develop grade 5 and 6. When we talk about developing ideas, organizing thoughts. So
Actually,
here,
Sonia, just
what we
before
are
you move forward, it was interesting. If
right.
you saw those short stories, that visual you put up, there were a couple on butterflies, a couple on
Right.
colors. So it almost acted as a picture prompt for people to write the short
Yeah,
stories
that's
because
true.
there's quite a
Actually,
few.
yes.
It's what you were saying earlier as well. Anyway, please carry on.
Right, right. I think a lot of them are writing. Bees are humming on the beautiful flowers. I think that came from the picture here. Anyways, okay. So going forward, developing ideas, organizing thoughts. Please, when we are talking about developing ideas, again, it goes back to critical thinking. Use graphic organizers, use Venn diagrams, mind maps, story maps, easily available, sequencing charts. They are part of the textbook, I'm sure. Like English textbooks have graphic organizers these days. Uh, Teach basics of including dialogues and narratives. And dialogues are like simple, the way we speak, right? Give writing prompts. Um, Tell them how a story begins, what a setting is, what characters are, and how it moves on the graph. Right now, I mean, we are covering a lot of ground here. So we can have, just sessions on one piece here. But this is like you just wanted to give an overview of how you can do writing from grade 1 onwards till grade 8 or 10 or 12 for the matter. So if you look, then we come to descriptive writing. So here, descriptive writing means that you are using, giving vivid details and sensory language. What develops is observation, attention to details, and of course, vocabulary expansion. For example, describe a day in the mountains. You can take children out for a nature walk and ask them to describe what they saw and write some, just quiet time, which is so essential these days. So you can do all that. And going forward, I have a picture. Can you describe this? So when we are talking about describing words, we are also talking about sound, smell, touch, right? So all the senses here. So what the child has to be able to visually. That's what, see, the entire idea of reading a story is we can imagine. How do we imagine? Because the senses create emotions in us, and then we can imagine, right? That's how it works. So these are the words which are very important. So if you look at this, this is the exact description of the picture. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow across the sky. The gentle waves kissed the shore, and the air was filled with salty scent of the ocean. So here it covers all the senses. If you see, imagery is nothing but all these. There's another one I have. The cake was tall and covered in thick, instead of saying whatever, which I'm not going to reveal, we'll just read this and we can imagine. The cake was tall and covered in thick, shiny chocolate frosting. It smelled sweet like cocoa and sugar. Each bite was rich and creamy with a burst of chocolate flavors. The cake was soft and moist, and the frosting was smooth like butter. Nice. What kind of cake is this? I have water in my mouth right now. I think I'm going to dig into a cake.
Yeah, I think it's tea time now, isn't it? I think we've got about 10 minutes left and then we'll all be
Nah,
having some
yes,
cake.
yes, right. And interestingly, this was a prompt I gave the AI and they created this. So this is just a extra tidbit there. So yeah. So if you see, if I say the juicy orange burst into my mouth with a sweet and tangy flavor, we are talking about gustatory taste. The cookies smell like fresh vanilla and melted chocolate. Here we are talking about smell. The soft blanket felt warm and cozy against my skin. We are talking about touch, tactile. The birds chirped happily in the trees, filling the air with their songs. Here we are talking about auditory. And then, of course, the last one, the fluffy white clouds floated lazily across the bright blue sky, is visual. Let's come to grade 7 and 8 now. If you see, as I said, there's a lot of analytical thinking which is going to happen now. So essay writing becomes very important. Okay, so it has to have an introduction, body, and conclusion. Persuasive and opinion writing comes in. Somebody did mention in the chat box peer reviews. Absolutely becomes important, and they can start early on in grade 4, 5, when children have come into their own thing. And then write persuasive paragraphs. We are going to talk about it in a while. So if you see expository writing is more about research oriented, organization, clear communication. I'm And honestly, this is not for school. I have been, teaching academic writers, and I realize how they say nobody emphasized on writing through our school. We just had to get marks. And now we can't just put things together. I have people, coming to learn how to write an email, and these are the general managers in a company, or so this is teachers, it's a very serious job you're doing actually. So you are just these are life skills. This is not just marks. So how to organize thoughts is expository writing, and then you can use organizers, as I told you. Some of the topics is as simple as how to brush your teeth to making an airplane to how to get ready for school, because it just needs organization and critical thinking, which is going to happen. And then it can go to in the importance of time management in school. So the topics can just keep going on, right? How is technology changing education? So the levels keep going up. And if you notice, this is not just restrictive, this is cross curricular. This is for science, this is for social studies, and everything else. And then when you appear for SATs, these are the kind of question. I was talking to a friend, and she said, I'm never able to do this. And this is a young 27-year colleague of mine. And when I was doing this, and see, you have to put this, rearrange the sentences into a paragraph. I don't know how much time we have. Cal, should I wait or just reveal the answers there?
I think we've only got 8 minutes, so
I think we can wait.
we can wait.
Okay, can
I
you?
think half a
Yeah,
minute or so. Yeah.
yeah. Please rearrange it and tell me what is the order of the answer.
Yeah, we just need the number sequence.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Which is the first sentence? Correct. 2 is the first one, and after that is 1, 3, and 4. Correct.
The mean is put 2, 1, 3, 4.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's 2, 1, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Perfect. So a lot of them have come. So, but if you read it carefully, which you can later on, you would realize that one sentence leads to the other, and so it's very logical thinking. It's not just, sentence coming together, because one thing leads to another and another thing leads to the next. Perfect. That was very quick. Okay. Going forward, we are going to talk about persuasive writing. So the idea is to convince the reader to believe or do something. And debate is part of it, critical thinking, reasoning is part of it. Okay, this is very interesting. So it involves ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is credibility. So when you are persuading somebody, the person should be credible enough. I should trust the person who's speaking, right? So credibility is first. Then comes emotions. The it should appeal to the audience, evoke emotions like sympathy. And the final is logic. So logic, facts, reason. So when you are writing persuasive, you got to use ethos, pathos, and logos. And then happens persuasive writing. All right. Now, this is a fun thing which I've put in. If I don't know if you've seen these advertisements here, Tata Salt, Desh Ka Namak. What is this? Ethos, pathos, or logos? What does it appeal? This you have to write. This is ethos, Desh Ka Namak. Touch of care. Touch of care is pathos. The fastest network, logic. Lagos. Taste of India, ethos. India's most trusted brand is again ethos, ethic. दाग अच्छे हैं, emotions, pathos. जीते रहो, pathos. Next is now Lagos. So you can start. So even advertising is actually just that. So you can do a lot of things here with children, and it just becomes fun. Okay. Some more kinds of writings. Reflective writing, we've already talked about journaling, diary. Creative writing, poetry. We had a session on poetry. Script writing, of course. Practical writing, where you list information. That's practical writing every day. Make a list of things to do. Maybe that's also actually a kind of writing. So you can't just negate any kind of writing here. And then, of course, which Cal had brought up was collaborative writing, where children can write together and even illustrate together. So if you see, You, as mentors, have a huge role to play here. Some of the encouragement techniques which I have put down is please appreciate. I mean, when I did my ELT course, we were told 100 ways to say very good. Actually, I have a whole list, But so that's what you're going to do to all the children. So that's the first thing. Encourage motivation. Language teaching is all about motivation. Okay. Then, if you share feedbacks, they are very receptive to you as children. And then let the children express themselves freely through their journal. Give fun prompts. That's something which I have been emphasizing on all the time. And then be consistent. Don't say, okay, one time we've done it, now we're not going to write. So you have to have a daily or weekly writing program going on. Again, please praise the effort and the progress. It just builds confidence. And very important is you got to see age appropriate, constructive feedback, focus on improvement. Feedback is not, ye to galat ho gaya. You shouldn't have done it like that. That's no feedback, right? Tell the child the right way. And I'm sure the children would love to write going forward. So that's all for today. But what we've covered is writing is a tool for communication, critical thinking, creativity, and self expression. We covered different kinds of writing and how we can progress from simple sentences to structured paragraphs and then which leads to plot development. And yes, as mentors, we should celebrate the progress, encourage effort, and inspire a lifelong passion for writing and help them, guide them in refining skills and nurturing a positive writing experience. So, in case you have questions, thank you.
Sonia, I think we can fit in one question. I think you, first of all, thanks on behalf of everybody for that enlightening session. A couple of questions that came up or clarifications. Everyone's certificates will be given to you. Our team will get in touch after this webinar and they'll get in touch with you via email with the one you registered on. For anybody who missed any of the slides, etc., you can see the whole thing again on our YouTube channel, and that will be uploaded on Monday. But the one question, just to finish off, Sonia, was from Maimuna. I hope I pronounced that right. And she had an interesting one to say, how do you create interest amongst slow learners? And I think at the initial stages, you did say do a step-by-step approach. But how would you like to answer that? And then I think we can close the session.
Yeah, this is exactly, just go slow on them. Just tell them to participate. Maybe also just do what they are interested in. Everybody has an interest. There are children who like sports, they like video games or whatever they like. I taught grammar to a child because through music, because that child was just interested in music. So the thing is, you have to just click, emotionally vibe with the child, and I'm sure the child will start writing and reciprocating. Maybe a little slow, but yeah, it's fine.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Sonia. Thank you, teachers and everybody. We've got people from different countries, I saw. So thanks so much for sparing the time to attend today. And hopefully we'll see you second Saturday next month for another session. Thanks once again, Sonia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cal. Thank you.
Okay. I think we can close the webinar.
Thank you.